boom of a microphone.
Chris,
It's here.
Chris, you got a minute? We're going to be starting in 2 minutes.
No, they're not. No,
Have one.
but they've been changed. Cause this one used to be all the way up here.
I don't mind swallowing a microphone,
Right.
but you know.
Right.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah.
Stand over here so it
Oh.
balances the table.
I don't have enough time.
Yeah. Come on, okay. This meeting is called to order at 6 o'clock. Please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Everybody, we are being broadcast live over Channel 12, and we are on YouTube Live. Clerk Wright, would you please call the roll?
Yes, trustee Kelly is absent and excused. Trustee Boyden. Trustee Martin.
Here.
Trustee Frazier is also absent and excused. Trustee Bud.
Here.
Clerk is present. Supervisor.
Here.
We have a quorum.
Thank you, Clerk. I'd like to begin with an executive summary. Today, we're going to be talking over the consent agenda, which consists of our board meeting minutes, our prepaid lists, our voucher lists, and an approval of a resolution for the 2024 tax rate request. Taxes did not go up. A new business includes discussion on a resolution for the 24 Township Hall rental fee schedule, discussion on a housing readiness master plan update, discussion on the second reading of an ordinance to amend the zoning ordinance definitions and the regulations for agricultural, retail, and tourism, agritourism, and finally, in discussion of a resolution that amends and restates the Aerotropolis interlocal agreement with Van Buren Township. We're complete with that. Can I get adoption of the agenda? Can somebody make a motion?
Through the chair, I make a motion that we adopt the agenda as presented.
Second. Support by trustee Boynton. I've got a motion by treasurer Bud, supported by trustee Boynton to adopt the agenda. Hearing no discussion. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? This motion passes. Next item is adoption of the consent agenda. Would somebody,
Through the chair.
trustee Martin?
Make a motion to adopt the consent agenda as follows. Board meeting minutes of July 2nd, 2024. Prepaid list of July 4th. Prepaid list of July 11th, all of 2024. Voucher list of July 16th, 2024. And the approval of resolution 2024-08, 2024 tax rate request.
Support.
Support by trustee Boynton. Okay, we have all this on there. Just again, we're stating that the tax, we just have to notify the township, the county and the state that what our tax rate is. It hasn't changed one bit for the last 8 years. Hearing no discussion, all in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion passes. Next item is public hearing. We have none. Next is correspondence, announcements, and presentations. I'll begin with the board. Does anybody from the board have any correspondence, announcements, or presentations?
Yeah, I do.
Okay.
Okay, I would like to announce that we have approximately 21 days until the August 6th primary. As of to date, we have issued 5,909 absentee ballots with a unfortunately return amount of 1,332 return. That's 22%. Probably the lowest I can remember in a primary at this time, at this rate of the primary. Normally, when we send out absentee ballots, we normally receive like 50% back immediately. I was kind of stunned today to find out we only have 1,300 return. I don't know what's that indicating, but it's definitely a different trend. Early in-person voting runs from July 22nd to August 3rd here at the Township Hall. We have 2 precincts here at the Township Hall. That's early voting. Early voting is the 9 days early voting that was adopted newly with the new proposal. Also, I would like to announce that, so the township is receiving a net distribution back from MMRMA. And I want to announce that the board trustees know this. This year, we will be receiving $341,476 back in net distribution from our insurance company, which is Michigan Municipal Risk Management Authority, which I'm a board member. They are giving a total of $34,484,665 back to their members, and we are receiving $341,000 back as the township. There's many factors that goes into being eligible to receive these funds. I want to address a couple of them, which is respected trend laws, good risk management practices, responsive risk control recommendations, and a successful, well-diverse long-term investment strategy. These are the terms and that are looked at by determining these distributions. So we're doing good in all categories. That concludes my announcement.
Anybody else? I have 2 things. The first thing is we've been looking to do sidewalks along Tyler Road for 3 years. We've applied for grants from the state, from the federal government, from the county. We got denied. We applied for grants. We got told we got it, then we got taken away. We applied for grants through Dan Powers. We applied for grants for Ron Akers. We applied for grants for Mary Colburn. We kept on applying for grants. We were then told maybe if we partnered up, so we partnered up with the county and didn't quite get it. We partnered up with Wayne County Community College to tie in the Tyler Road sidewalks into the 275. They agreed to do that. I came back to work last week, and there were piles of paper on my desk, and I started signing grants. We got $1.348 million from SUMCOG in a TAP grant. We got $337,000 from our good friends at the DDA. We got another $300,000 from the CDBG. A total of $1.985 million to do Tyler Road sidewalks. We've got enough to do the Tyler Road sidewalks. It's better than we were hoping for. I want to thank everybody that had to do with that, including the board, who lived through a lot of us, trying to get this thing done. But it's kind of exciting. We've got the money now.
Good to hear.
Yeah. So I also want to say on July 20th, Sherry Budd will have 43 years work anniversary. So you're welcome. I just couldn't help that when I saw that. I went, oh my God.
That's what I said too.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Does anybody from the public wish to comment on anything on today's business? Okay. Nope. There will be another comment period at the end for anything else. Public comment. All right. Unfinished business, we have none. New businesses to discuss and to consider approval of a resolution for Township Hall rental fee schedule.
Through the chair,
Thank you.
I move that we approve the resolution 2024-10, 2024 Township Hall rental fee schedule.
Support.
Thank you, trustees Martin and Boynton. Okay. Director, thank you.
Good evening, Board. The Community Services Department is excited to present a proposed fee schedule, Resolution 2024-10, for Township Hall rental fees for board approval tonight. As you might be aware, prior to COVID-19, the Township offered a few meeting rooms in Township Hall to community groups to be able to rent. Rentals were stopped during COVID-19 and continued to be on hold throughout the construction of the community center. Now that the BBC is open and our team has staff in the building later into the evening, we're pleased to be able to open rentals up again to the community. So it was important to the township to keep the meeting rooms accessible to those community groups. So rental rates are very reasonable. Rentals will be available Monday through Thursday from 5 p.m. to 8 p.m. The Denton room will be available, Otisville, Sheldon, and Otisville, Sheldon combined. So rates for the Denton room, Otisville, and Sheldon are $25 per occurrence. And then combined, the Otisville and Sheldon would be $50 per occurrence for residents. Non-residents would be $50 each, and then Otisville, Sheldon combined for $100. I would be happy to answer any questions at this time.
Questions? Trustee Boynton?
And this is just for informational. Now, I do know that this room here with the partition there can be split, whereas the boardroom portion can be split off from that area back there. Because back there, the area back there is listed under that door as far as the French landing room. So is that included in this as well, or is that just like a last ditch? We got to get it done because we have that many requests.
So the boardroom is not presented on this fee schedule for rental, just Denton, Otisville, and Sheldon.
It's always been determined that after putting over $100,000 into this room, that we wanted to protect it.
Well, I understand that.
But I mean, you know, it's the board's
But
parameter,
But
whatever
what
they
I'm
do.
saying is that this portion here, and I know we upgraded that portion of the room back there as well, but in the event, if we had that many requests, could we put up the partition and just have that side of the room done?
With approval of the board, we can do anything we would like. And yes, we have had groups come in here that are larger. We fill this room up when we do our township-wide training for
Right.
safety and OSHA and things like that.
Right, okay, so,
Yeah.
and I take it that we would just use the same
I think we,
thank you, that we have.
Yeah,
I think we was hoping that we didn't have to
Okay.
use this room.
Huh?
With the addition of with the recreation center, we was hoping that we didn't have to
I
use
got
this
you.
room for
I got
rental.
you. But just in case we had that many requests, I'm just looking out for us later on.
The board would have to vote on that.
Okay, okay, all right.
okay, any other questions? No? I have a motion by trustee Boynton and a support by trustee Martin on the Township Hall rental fee schedule. Hearing no further discussion, all in favor? Aye. Opposed? This motion passes. Thank you, Director.
Thank you, board.
Next item is a discussion on and consider approval of a housing readiness master plan update.
Chair, I'd like to make the motion to consider approval of houses readiness master plan update by McKenna and Associates in the amount of $45,000.
I need a support. Treasurer Bud. Support by Clerk Wright. Okay, go ahead.
Evening, Board. In February, the township was awarded a grant from the Michigan State Housing Development Authority to update the township's master plan and draft zoning text amendments in order to encourage increasing housing supply and affordability in the township. Based on this, the township has solicited a proposal from McKenna and Associates to complete the work. The scope of work in the proposal includes inventorying existing public land and completing a residential market study, evaluating our existing zoning regulations, making recommendations, drafting zoning text amendments, performing public engagement, and identifying opportunity sites for missing middle housing best practices. This project is consistent with the goals of the township's master plan to provide an adequate supply of housing that meets the needs of new and existing township residents of varying income levels, is responsive to changing generational preferences, allows residents to age in place, and adds value to the community and achieves a high standard of excellence in aesthetics and design. The project is funded through a grant. The grant is a reimbursement-based grant, and the total of the award is $45,000, with the township providing a $5,000 match. The township will need to complete the project by January of 2026, and we look forward to getting started. This concludes my summary, and I am available to answer any questions regarding the proposal.
So I'll just add that the state of Michigan and the federal government seem to be coming, I think they're coming with money pretty soon for housing readiness. And when I say housing readiness, I don't mean low income, I mean first home buyers. I mean, 20-somethings with family, and how do we get them into a home? The grants that we have seen require us a plan and an update. And so, because the state of Michigan recognizes that most communities are not going to take on a $50,000 plan or update in order to go after some of those other grants that are coming, they offered this grant, and we saw the opportunity to possibly get in line for money in the future. So after saying that, does anybody have any questions of the director?
Through the chair.
Thank you.
I'd just like to say this is something that's much needed in the township. I'm glad to see that we have money set aside to do a study on the housing. I think there's a growing need, not only in Van Buren Township, but throughout the state and actually throughout the country for housing that meets the needs of all people. So I think this is a great program.
Absolutely. Anybody else? Okay, I've got a motion by Clerk Wright, and I have a second by Treasurer Bud. Hearing no further discussion, all in favor? Aye. Opposed? This motion passes.
Thank you.
Item number 3, which is a discussion on a second reading. Can I get a motion? And you must read.
Through the chair,
Trustee Boynton.
I move that we grant approval of the second reading of ordinance 0702-24 to amend the zoning ordinance to provide definitions and regulations for agricultural, retail, and tourism, agritourism.
Support.
I've got a motion, I've got support. Director Power.
Okay, thank you, Board. This is the second reading, as mentioned, of the ordinance for agricultural, retail, and tourism in Van Buren Township. Following a public hearing on April 10th and a recommendation that was made with some changes to this set of ordinances on June 12th, this ordinance was finalized and presented to the Board. It allows for property owners in the ag zoning district, which is agricultural and estates, to pursue agritourism as a special land use on properties 10 acres or larger. And there are a variety of listed uses that can be pursued. The intent here is to provide some flexibility to kind of extend the life and allow these agricultural properties to evolve and take on new uses, with at least one prominent example currently in the township being DeBucks of a model of success for this type of use in many ways. I will say that this ordinance takes those kinds of seasonal uses out of kind of an ongoing seasonal use review process and puts them more into a permanent position for potential success and a high standard by taking them and making them a special land use. So what would happen if somebody were to propose a new one of these uses, or in the case of DeBucks, they will have to get at least a one-time approval for a permanent version of what they're doing now. If somebody were to come in to apply for that, they would have to go in front of our planning commission, seek a special land use approval, follow the specific development standards for agritourism, as well as the general special land use standards that apply to all special land uses in the township, where we'd evaluate impacts for traffic, noise, off-site impacts. We'd have public hearing with mailing notices to the property owners within 300 feet, as well as a general notice in the newspaper. So hopefully any neighbors within the boundary, the 300-foot boundary of these spaces would be notified and have a chance to voice any comments or concerns they have. But by and large, the ordinance was written to promote high-quality agritourism uses on large acreage sites with substantial buffers and quality design standards. So this is the second reading. If it moves on from tonight, it will go into a notice of adoption in the newspaper late next week, and then we would presumably have an ordinance that we can use for future agritourism uses. So I'm happy to answer any questions about that.
Any questions? This first came about because I think we needed to take care of DeBucks, right? They've got a sustainable business now that can be passed on. And I really want to see a winery somewhere. All right.
That'd be great, growing community.
But-
Where are the vineyards located in Van Buren Township?
Through the chair.
Yes.
Not really, just to comment on what, like, Dan and the ones that worked with them and Vidya from our planning. They did a fine job, spent a lot of time on this, and Planning Commission and this township board appreciates that. Thank you.
Thank you. Yes, I had special thanks to Commissioners Grant, Paul, and Cullen, I believe, from the Planning Commission, who were on the subcommittee for ordinance development. Thank you.
All right, moving on, and I have a motion by trustee Boynton. It's been supported by treasurer Bud. Hearing no further discussion on the second reading, roll call. Almost missed that.
Okay, so we have trustee Kelly and trustee Frazier's absent and excused. Trustee Boyne,
Aye.
trustee Martin,
Yes.
treasurer Bud,
Yes.
yes for me. Supervisor McNair,
Yes.
motion passes.
Thank you, Board.
Thank you, Director. Next item is discussion on and to consider approval of a resolution for the amended and restated Airtropolis interlocal agreement.
Through the chair,
Yes, thank you. Trustee Boynton?
I move that we approve the resolution 2024-09, the amended and restated Aerotropolis interlocal agreement, and to approve Supervisor McNamara to sign the agreement.
Can I get support?
Support.
Trustee Martin?
No.
Oh, it's Corker, I'm sorry. Okay, Director?
Good evening, Board. Before you, you have a resolution to ask to approve and reinstate the amendment with the IGA with Aerotropolis. As you know, we've had a great working relationship with Aerotropolis and have been a part of that since its creation. The DDA did just approve the yearly annual dues in the amount of $25,000. We do also have Chris with us here if you have any questions, but in an effort to clean up some of the language and provide clarity on the resolution, the amendment that's being changed is on page 13, section 601A. It's just to provide clarity on the way that the Wayne County will appoint their parties to attend and participate in Aerotropolis. So it does change the language from Wayne County to clearly state the Wayne County Executor and with the approval of the Wayne County Commission. So that is the change that you'll see in that amendment. And then I'm happy to answer any questions, but I'm sure Chris would probably be able to answer a lot of any questions that you may have for him.
First of all, does anybody have any questions on this interlocal agreement? Okay, just basically, Wayne County is solidifying that they've got 2 seats on the board. Chris, could you step forward? We don't get Aerotropolis in here very often. They're funded by the DDA's $25,000. We use Chris as an economic development manager along with Dan Power, and they've done very well. And I was wondering if you could give us an update on what's going on with our area in Aerotropolis.
Yeah, happy to. Thank you. Appreciate you having me. Good to see everyone. So Aerotropolis, from an organizational standpoint, is a state government entity. So think of us as an arm of the state of Michigan. We've been around since about 2008, 2009. It's referred to as a Next Michigan Development Corporation. It's, from a legal standpoint, a public body corporate, but think of us as an arm of the state. Now, there are 7 different Next Michigan Development Corporations. There's one in Traverse City, there's one in downtown Detroit, there's one in Grand Rapids. The one here in the Aerotropolis region supports economic development along with Wayne County, Washtenaw County, the cities of Romulus, Taylor, Van Buren Township, Huron Township, and the Airport Authority. So when you look at the overall revenue stream for Aerotropolis, how we're funded is primarily through the Wayne County Airport Authority, Wayne County, and Washtenaw County. Those are our 3 biggest funders. And then the municipalities join in, and then DTE Energy and the Michigan Economic Development Corporation. So we're a kind of a public-private partnership, but from a legal standpoint, a state government entity. Van Buren Township is getting a lot of looks recently. As the supervisor had mentioned in many of our meetings, You've got Ann Arbor growing, bursting at the seams, looking to move east, and you have Detroit and the suburbs also looking to Van Buren Township. So you're in the middle of two growing metropolises, and you're finding yourself serving both those markets. And you're the envy of many of the communities because you have the lowest tax rate amongst all your neighbors. And so economic development comes easier to Van Buren Township when an automotive or aerospace company is looking to dip into the talent at Eastern Michigan University or Ann Arbor and find its workforce in the greater Detroit region. They find themselves 30 minutes from two high qualified talent pools, which is why we're seeing a lot of activity. Now, north of 94 is where all of your light industrial manufacturing activity is. We don't look to rezone any property south of 94. We're going to maintain that. The supervisor wants to maintain the agricultural roots. But north of Willow Run, you have about 1,000 acres, 1,100 acres that is undeveloped, that is being considered for large-scale automotive and aerospace industry. It's zoned appropriately. It's still in its raw land form, but I think in the next 3, 5, 7, if not 10 years, you'll see significant development north of Willow Run. Another parcel is right at the corner of 94 and 275. There's a 287-acre parcel south of the Wayne County Community College. You're seeing significant interest in that parcel as well. It has mixed zoning, but we've been working with the Van Buren Township team to understand from a development perspective, from an ingress-egress perspective, how we could develop that site for its highest and best use. Now, briefly, my role within supporting Van Buren Township goes to public infrastructure. We can't allow an aerospace or an automotive company to expand without good roads, water, and sewer. And so I've been working directly with the supervisor and the Van Buren Township team to identify funding for wastewater, not only extension to different wastewater treatment facilities, but on the water side. So we're understanding that there's a 42-inch Great Lakes Authority water main running north of Willow Run. How do we develop new meter pits to service that 1,100-acre parcel north of Willow Run, but also the 287-acre parcel right at 275 and 94, and then also road work. And so Aerotropolis successfully worked with Van Buren Township to identify $5.5 million for Haggerty Road, given the Crossroads North development and the need to service that, both employee traffic and some of the logistics traffic associated with it. So in summary, I consider myself one of your core dirt salesmen. I identify sites that are 5 acres, 25 acres, up to 440 acres, and I position them for the highest and best use, and working with your team, both at the Planning Department, Director of Municipal Services, the Water, Sewer, Public Services, and of course Mary, who's been on the board of Aerotropolis for almost 7, 8 years. From a marketing, real quickly, from a marketing standpoint, the Wayne County Airport Authority provides Aerotropolis $150,000 in marketing on an annual basis. And so what I do is I allowed Supervisor McNamara to tell the Van Buren Township story in a full-page ad in Crane's Detroit Business during the Mackinac Policy Conference. Or what we'll do is we'll take out small digital ads if we have a press release on Click on Detroit or the Detroit News and Free Press, just to allow Van Buren Township to tell its own story in its own words. And so we do that on occasion. We have big announcements here. For example, Crossroads North, that development is substantial. It's going to create over 1,000 jobs once it's finished. And some of these, I would say, air cargo carriers that are expanding at Willow Run, like Kalitta and USA Jet and others, we're looking at making some significant announcements to identify ways in which we can use that high-value cargo, OEM, corporate travel to position ourselves to making good connections and relationships with automotive and aerospace companies at the Fortune 500 level. So they may not fly into DTW with their jet. They might fly into Willow Run. We want to capture them and show them some land that's located just north of it. And so we're looking at strategies to really harness the power of the University of Michigan Alumni Network, Eastern Michigan, the CEOs that are global in nature, focus their energy here at those sites located north of Willow Run and at the crux of 94 and 275, And we hope in the next 5, 7, 10 years, you'll have 1,500 acres of developed Class A new space coming online for your residents. And lastly, as the supervisor mentioned during our meeting this morning, we always think about what we can do for Van Buren Township residents first. And so with any agreement, we always have a hire first and use local contractor first policy with any of these arrangements. And so if Aerotropolis was able to recruit a company to the region, there's also a initiative that's steadfast that focuses on hiring Van Buren Township residents first and local contractors. And we modeled that after Detroit, and we use that, and it's a contractual relationship. It's in writing, and we use that to measure our results. And so, with that, I do present to the DDA, but it's an honor to be here in front of you, and thank you for allowing me to work in your community, and it's a pleasure to work with your staff and your team.
Anybody want any questions of the Aerotropolis?
I think he pretty much answered everything.
Okay, well, thank you very much, Chris. Yeah, okay. All right, so we're in the middle of something here, I guess. We're in the middle of approving the interlocal agreement revision. I have a motion by trustee Boynton. It's been supported by clerk Wright. Any discussion? Hearing no discussion, all in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion passes.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Reports, we have none. Next is public comment for non-agenda items. If there's anybody that wishes to speak now on any non-agenda items, they're welcome to come up. Go ahead. Thank you.
You're welcome.
We allow 3 minutes, but I'm not.
Okay, that's
Yeah,
great.
that's okay, yeah.
Okay, that's great. Good afternoon, Supervisor McNamara, Clerk Wright, and the board, trustees and Treasurer Bud. I am here as an issue that has disturbed me. I understand there was a young man that was hired with the facilities management, and then he was terminated because he was not a good fit. He had been working here prior to his employment. He had been assisting with.
Could you move the microphone down
Yes.
a little bit?
Okay.
Oh, that's perfect.
Okay, prior to his employment, he had been assisting with the RFP. He hadn't even been employed yet. And so my question is, once he was employed, what is not a good fit? If the employee comes to work on time, the employee represents Van Buren Township to the best of his ability, the employee does what is asked of that employee to do, even though the job specifications, some of the things that he was asked to do was not in the job specification when he applied for the job. He assisted in the RFP during the walkthrough of the bids, putting equipment together. And so I'm here to ask, what is not a good fit? What does that mean? Because that's subjective, and to me, that's personal. If you're doing your job and you say that you're not a good fit, and then to say that the electives had issues with this employee, to me, electives should be above that. You should be running the business of the township and not singling out an employee. So I'm here, and I hope that if you cannot answer that question today, that you would ask your directors who run that facility, that department, what does not a good fit mean? That employee in less than 10 days was called into HR 3 or 4 times. I am extremely disappointed. Van Buren Township, I've been out here 20 years. I've never seen anything like this happen. I worked for Wayne County for the Honorable, may he rest in peace, Ed McNamara for many years. So I know what a well machine should look like and how it should be run. I've never seen anything like this happen before. How do you get an employee, a person to work for you and do the best that they can, and then you hire them, and then you said it wasn't a good fit? Well, a person was a good fit when they were helping you do the RFP. So I'm here to say I'm very disappointed. I would like for this honorable board, you Supervisor McNamara, and you Clerk Wright, to investigate, and please advise me as a concerned person, how did this happen? I would really like to know how this happened. And I'm, again, like I said, I'm very disappointed in this whole process.
And you were right that State of Michigan allows us to go into closed meetings for very few things. One of those things is personnel matters, because if you talk about personnel matters in public, It's wrong. It's wrong for everybody.
I understand
Okay.
that.
So we can't comment on personnel matters, and we won't.
Okay, and I do
I mean,
understand
if
that.
he were to come in here with you and say we could, we would, but we can't.
Okay, well, this is what I'm gonna say, because I know I have my 3 minutes. Well, since that is subjective to say that's not a good fit, well, maybe, what if the residents say those people that terminate the employee is not a good fit? What if we start to complain? What if we start to petition? What if we start to write complaints? So how is that gonna be addressed? And what I'm gonna say to that is, they use that young man to get the information, but you have the playbook, but they don't know how to call the plays. And I will be seeing, I guarantee you, they will not be able to run that facility in the manner that they think they can. And I'm gonna say I close on that, and and you guys have a good day. My final thing is, I'm very proud to be a resident of Van Buren Township. I enjoy living here. I've never had to come to a meeting and discuss and express my frustration with how the township has been run or how somebody has been treated. And so for me, I have shared this with many people. And I'm surprised that they didn't come today, because quite a few people are very disappointed and upset about how this was handled. And so I do understand you will not and you cannot discuss personnel matters, but I did want to come to this board and express that. So thank you. Have a
Thank
good
you.
day.
Excuse me, ma'am. Could you state your name for the record, please?
Yes,
I'm
my
sorry.
name is Cassandra McDonald. I live in the Country Walk subdivision on Barnwell Drive.
Thank you.
And I have been supportive to everyone on this board. Trustee Bud, Mr. McNamara, when he was a commissioner, I was very supportive of him. I was one of the people who tried to encourage him to run when Mr. McNamara when he left before Mr. Evans became our Wayne County executive. Mr. Boynton, I've been very supportive of him. Mr. Wright, I was there standing and walking hand in hand when he was running for office. Even when people tried to run him out, we used to sit over here to make sure he saw that he had support. And so for this to happen, I'm very disappointed. But yes, I thank you guys for letting me speak today, and have a good day.
Thank you, Cassandra. Mr. McDonald.
My name is Stephanie McDonald, and I live in Country Walk subdivision as well. I can only echo the sentiments that Cassandra just stated. I don't want to be repetitive, but I am extremely angry and upset with the two managers and the HR manager here in Van Buren Township. I think that they were manipulative and they used Mr. Harvey. And I have talked to all of my neighbors in Country Walk and several other subdivisions. And I would like to say that I don't think that they're a good fit. And I need you to investigate and to do something about that, because that's subjective and that's my subjective opinion that I'm pushing. I don't think that the two managers nor the HR manager are a good fit for Van Buren Township. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. McDowell. Is there anybody else that would like to speak before this board? Could you check online, please? No? Okay. Thank you. Board, now it's time for board comments. Does anybody from the board wish to make a comment? Nope. Okay. Call for adjournment.
So moved.
Mr. Boynton, Trustee Boynton, second by who?
Support.
Treasurer Bud. Happy 43 years. Hearing no discussion, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. Thank you. Oh, I'm sorry.